Right, hello everyone. Well, I'm going to lean back, which means you're only going to see the bottom of my head because the camera set I've got up just doesn't let me show the full height and what I need to show later on during the video. So most of you know I've been messing around with VR controllers over joysticks, and the eventual sort of one I've ended up with is this bodger you see in front of us. But I did come up with a brilliant clamp for holding it originally, and this clamp at the front here, when it's undone, I'll show you the picture now. That was the best way and the best looking, but it just didn't work. The handset masked out the ring when it was actually in the holder. So I tried to think of all things last night, and eventually used a toilet roll holder, just taped at 45 degrees so it sort of lined up with the top of this controller, and was soft enough just to be able to drop this in without pressing the buttons, and also, if need be, twist it. And I do apologise for my shaky hands. You probably all know that I suffer with dystonia by now, so if anything shakes too much, that's the reason for it. So the idea was we needed a handset that could be taken out, dropped in once we'd locked it onto the controllers, and then would be held in a normal joystick manner. The hunt for something to hold one of these and hold it well, for the last week or so I've been looking around for clamps and couldn't find one, and then I actually found one today in the cupboard, and got it here. It's one of these clamps you use for clamping to a bed and then putting your phone at this end. Now, why this clamp is so good is the fact that it won't press the switch, and it's got a very soft grip to it for the controller. But that way, got to get the orientations right. So what I intend doing is mounting this part where this toilet roll was or is, and actually have the controller mounted that way, and that way I get a very soft, nice grip on the controller. Nothing's been damaged, and the button, because of the cutouts, isn't pressed. So that's the next journey that we're going to be doing, and you can see it's also got a 3D bracket, which means you can straighten and level it as well. So pretty much going to saw through there, take this off, go straight in the top of the column, and then have a very nice one button press on with a VR handset. And I think this thing was about £6 or £7 or something like that, something ridiculous for holding your phones. But as it stands at the moment, we have a toilet roll clamped here and sellotaped, and this just drops in there like that. It can be rotated on the base because I just needed this week to make sure everything could be adjustable before I do the final version. And when I am flying in VR, and I'll show you in a moment how that's done, I still have all my controls and my joystick here. I'm running this as my collective at the moment. That's the X52 mounted at 45 degrees because my other collective, which you can see just there. I'm servicing the dampers, all went hard on that and needed to be stripped down. So you can still do all the functions for trimming and everything on the joystick, but you've got to let go of the collective to actually do it when you're flying. So I'm going to show you how I line up, because the real problem has been in VR, getting this into your joystick position and moving your seat and getting in the right position in the helicopter. And I found a way of doing it, but there might be a better way that other people know. So we'll go into the video and then you can see how I line up the VR controller inside the helicopter, latch it on, and then fly it usual way like this. So I've got my feet or my foot pedals further on there. But it's not been an easy task. It's been a bit of fun and games really, trying to link this when it's not in there, and then actually get it in the sort of stick and keep everything lined up in the helicopter so that when you're flying in VR, it looks like it's in the right place. So I'll call this quits here. Sorry again for only half the head, but it's bald the top part, so you don't want to see that anyway. And also, if the lip sync isn't particularly good, apologies for that. But we're getting to the video, how I set it up in XPlane and fly it. And what I can tell you is that certainly for hovering, this is the best setup that I've had since I've been flying. And Joe's hover test has proven I've done probably 10 hours worth of flying between this and this. This gives the highest score. For low down approaches, coming in, hovering, the VR controller beats everything I've ever used. And I'm using that, and I'll show you a picture now of the sprung base. And that just, with the rubber bands, I thought I was going to have to use dampers and springs and everything, but that just works well. And this is going to be a quick setup. I'm going to keep my normal rig for helicopter flying using the joystick and the normal pedals and everything. And I'm going to have this set up with this chair, and I've got a new collective coming, which I've been working on with somebody, and I'll show that in a later video. But we get into the main one, and then you can see how I set all this up in VR, and well, you'll see what your thoughts are. Thanks. We're getting to it now.
Right, so here we are in the Bell 407, and as you can see, my virtual reality cockpit isn't linked to the joystick of the helicopter, and my seating position isn't particularly good, and you've got to latch the handset onto the helicopter joystick. And so I just thought I'd show you how I do it. So I basically put the handset in the holder, as you can see there, and actually it's quite well lined up, but you can see that's still springing. That's that. And then what I've got mapped is left and right movement on my X52 collective. There's a hat button on there, up, down, left, right. And what I'm going to do is pick that screw, because if you're near the top of the controller, it doesn't seem to work very well. So I'm going to pick that screw I can just see there, line it up, and then move backwards and forwards until the controller is touching the point that I want it to. So if I move my controller like that, it's not linked to the joystick. The problem is you can't just press the button now and link it to the joystick, because it has to physically be a distance back. So what you have to do is take it out, aim the beam at the screw as close as you can, no, not that one, like that. That's pretty good. Now put your joystick backwards so you can put the controller back in, and then let it go. So now our joystick is linked, even though it's not quite to that screw that we did before, it's pretty well linked. Now from there, what I will do is just do a very slight lift to see where the helicopter's going. So it's tipping forward quite a bit. So I'm going to go backwards slightly on the controller. This is a movement controller, it's not a trim. So let's go backs up. So it's back. Let's try 2. Lift off. No, still not enough. Lift off. No. Lift off. Pretty good. So I was trimming it by moving my whole seat position there. And then what I've got to do is grab hold of it, make sure it's not going to hit my seat, left, right, or whatever. Now, I'm in the wrong place. If I look down, I can just about see the seat belts. And this is the bit where you're going to hear a lot of squeaking of chair and everything. I've physically got to get up and move forward, leaving everything else as it is. So I'm just going to go forward a bit. Feet don't quite reach the pedals properly, so I'm going to go forward a bit more, square myself up. This is where later on I use the other chair. It will make life so much easier because this one is big and heavy. But everything should be lined up. I've got forwards, backwards. That seems okay. And the great thing is it's very easy to trim. If I pull my, without taking my headset off, joystick over, I've still got the trim controls here for fine trimming or any of the other controls I used before. The problem is you do have to let go of the collective to reach that at the moment. Got a lot of stuff on the collective, but not all the controls that I'd matched. So we're at Shoreham. Let's just do a quick lift off and see how well it is trimmed. So I've got to pull back a bit, but it's not too bad. Just do a gentle turn. And for me, because I can rest my arm, and that helps with the tremors and everything as well. So this has been a great way of hovering around. And I'm going to say it makes it a lot more pleasurable in VR. It feels like a real helicopter control, or as much as it can do. And of course, it was just done for fun. This VR one, I have to say, it does work brilliantly for hovering, but in fast forward flight, I've had a few occasions where I've banked it over and it's not done what I thought it was going to do. Now that could be because in VR I'm looking left or right and the controller has momentarily lost its position. So there's probably reasons for it, but I have to say, in terms of hovering, I've been using Joe's program at the Aero La Mancha, and compared to a standard joystick, this, I'm not going to say is 100% better on my score, but is significantly better for hovering than using the standard X52. Now it could be because it's on the pole and it's the longer length. I've used the X52 with and without springs on that test, and no way have I had the control that I've had. For me, I always had a problem coming in and stopping in a hover. You'll notice it in a lot of my videos that I come in and do a sliding landing, and in here I have no problem at all bringing it in, virtually stopping it and bringing it down like that gently. So I've had to split this video up into a couple of bits because I've had a few system crashes, and then I actually had an Oculus update while I was actually flying, which was interesting to say the least. But if we head back towards the area where we were, then, you know, I was pointing out that with this VR setup I can kill off the speed much easier, my hovering is better, but I do think that my fast forward flight actually isn't as good as the X52, so doing the low down stuff but very fast. And it could be that I'm turning my head and looking out the windows and moving everything a bit rapidly, and the hand controller is in one position. But as you can see here, this is my usual Shoreham test track that I used on many a video. It's great for hover practice. Everything is just so smooth and easy. Now, I mentioned earlier, this is on a 20-inch long stick from the base, and of course that has an effect as well. I've got to decide eventually is, you know, I'm going to have this set up for my VR for fun on the other chair. I've got another project with a collective that I'm working on that's going to go on there, and I'm going to use that chair, which is easier to move around than this big race seat setup, and this VR controller for that, and then I'll use this rig for the moment with the X52 joystick for the other stuff. And then I've got to make that decision about, do I take apart my X52 and extend it onto a 20-inch stick like this, in the hope that it flies as smoothly as what this does. And that will be the question, because at the moment the hover tests that, you know, I've done with Joe's program far outweigh using the VR controller than using the joystick, and then going off and investigating other things. When I was looking at that Aero La Mancha stuff, I've done a lot of that in VR, testing this out, and push those forward. It's very difficult to beat. It is so smooth, and for me also the fact, because of the shaky hands, I can rest my arm on my right leg. I do have this thing where with this controller, I do like this X52 as a collective just at 45 degrees, but I can reach forward and use the other controls here on the joystick if need be. But I have to say, if you've got an old joystick that you can use as a base and a bit of 20-inch tube, some plumbers fittings, and well, not a toilet roll holder, let's hope that other holder does work out slightly better. It will certainly look better. But let's just have a quick look here. Look. Go and look at these signs. And the main Shoreham one, I think it says something like the UK's oldest public use airport from 1910. So let's nip over the fence, go back to where we started. Don't want it to go on forever, this video. I'm sure you don't either. Get back on the pad. But you can see, really nice, it stayed locked on, I'm comfortable, flying with, you know, like 2 fingers, not gripping it like I used to or do a lot of the time. Let's just kill some speed off. We're coming through the back. Sorry if I'm moving my head around a lot. I did try and stop that. I'm still working on a neck support at the moment to stop the tremor in my neck or my head for video use, but that'll go on the big chair, not this little portable setup. And as you can see, for me, you might all be able to do it very easily. But these are some of the smoothest approaches that I've done. And obviously doing Joe's program for so long is probably going a bit quick there. Improved my hovering no end anyway. But VR, I'm going to say for me at the moment, until I do the extension on the other X52, 100% smoother, maybe not, but certainly a vast improvement over my normal joystick, but not for fast forward flight. For fast forward flight and the low down stuff, joystick still wins out. I'm not sure why yet. For the low hovering stuff here, this works brilliantly. So it's been a bit of a funny video. Thanks for watching. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so, and maybe we'll get on to something else, or if I finally get this clamp sorted for VR use, I'll do a video for that and just show you how that worked. So hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you next week.